suicide when I ride, bitch. Scarecrow to walk the shadow. Mozart with no piano. Kill when I'm sleepy hollow. That mystic mother.
Learn some things. I'm gonna try to do my best to, be receptive, try to understand, and hopefully I will be able to come back with some good points as well. But
What?
fuck,
How?
we're gonna see how it goes, dudes. Wish me luck, and please type in chat.
That's insane. That's insane.
Fun to see people dunk on Musk. We're speaking on the day that a Danish astronaut.
You want to
has
buy
made him
me?
go
Yeah,
up
I
the-
got you. I got you. It's really easy. You'll just see a notification pop up in the top right, dog. I got you. One sec. Oh, I can do a viewer call in. Here you go. You should be able to just call in. All right. You'll see a little notification below the stream. Get started. All right. There you go. You should be able to see it below the stream. Yeah, George Lucas. Yeah, at this point, I think everyone knows that, right? That George Lucas has literally claimed that the rebellion was the literally meant to be based on the Viet Cong fighting off the United States. This is not real, bro. I refuse to believe the parallel to January 6th was an incredible setup. There you go. I hit invite on it. I got you. Should be in the top right now. There you go.
What's up, man?
There you go. Yo, can
Yo,
you hear me?
yeah, what's
There.
going on, brother?
What's up? I'm still a little sick. I got sick a few days ago, so
No, it's all good.
I sound a little congested because I'm recovering.
Yeah, nice. Well, I'm glad you're in recovery. And honestly, thank
So
you for taking this opportunity to kind of just have a conversation because I feel like that's kind of been hard to find lately with all this stuff going
sure,
on.
yeah, I'm 100% down to explain something from like, listen, I'm not Hasan, but I share like similar, I guess, politicalish views. But I mean, I've been streaming since 2009, and I've
Right.
had similar views for 10 years. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny that I get lumped in with people like that, but I'm willing to explain maybe
Yeah.
like the absurdity of calling certain people terrorists or terrorist supporters or things like that, and why I think it's kind of stupid.
Yeah. I'm open to that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, man, Twitch, I don't know what the deal is with all the stuff that's blown up lately. And I usually keep my
Hmm.
mouth quiet because, like, I've just grew up during, like, the Afghan stuff, born 98. So, I've just paid
Yeah, yeah,
attention through all that stuff then.
I get it.
But
I
just,
mean, listen, on Twitch for a long time, it was like taboo. Like, if you
yeah.
mentioned your politics, like people didn't think, or in the gaming space, like
Yeah.
politics was something you didn't. I remember I had a rule in my stream for years before like 2016, 2017, where it was like politics was not allowed.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I like that, like, the free speech and everything is coming to, start to come out on Twitch and all that. I just, me personally, like, some of the stuff with Frogan that she said, son,
okay.
I've already written off the whole 9/11 thing. I get it, whatever. We're past that, you know what I mean? But
Hmm.
just, yeah, some of the recent stuff has just kind of walked me the wrong way. But that's why I'm glad I found somebody reasonable enough that's willing to have a conversation. So
Sure. Frogan's a friend of mine, so I'm curious as to. I'm not curious. Like, I can understand. I mean, she apologized. She said she worded it wrong, but
I
that's,
Oh, okay. Yeah, she says that, but if like, you pull the clip, she's eating food while laughing at the remarks that she made. So is she doubling down or is she really apologizing?
I think in a world in which you don't know this person,
Mm-hmm.
if you're a person with empathy, I usually take the position of this person is aware what they said is probably wrong, and I can only go off the words they say since I don't have anything else, right?
Right.
I don't think her actions show like she's not out there like promoting the continuation or anything like that. And I also think it's fair to be, as a Muslim person in America, in the wake of 9/11, to have a distaste and displeasure, especially when your family is Lebanese, to the United States military. right? I think
Yeah.
that like we can agree that the United
Yes.
States has not necessarily treated the Middle East the
Oh,
best.
no. No, definitely not.
Yeah, yeah. So I
That
think we can extend courtesy to that. Does
yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, and that I probably didn't word things the best, the
No, you're
heat
good.
of Twitter and
You're
all that
good.
other stuff, trying
I
to
get it. No, no,
keep
I
up
don't
with
know what you
everybody.
said. I'm just going off of what I've seen, you know?
Yeah, but
I'm not here to defend all these people. I'm here to just rationalize, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, no, and that's why, yeah, you seemed very just open and willing to have a conversation. But yeah, the stuff
Yeah,
with
of
the Middle
course.
East, I just know that there's a lot of things that have been going on for years and years and years, not even regarding Israel for that matter. And then it's just like,
Uh-huh.
I feel like people only take into account of the stuff that's just now happening instead of like the whole general, like, Russia messing with them and then all the other
Hmm.
stuff that's been going on, like even before then, just migrations from Jews all over the place, just all kinds of other stuff. I feel like a lot of that's not
Okay.
considered.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you want the progressive or my position on something,
Of
I'll
course.
gladly explain it. So, I something I think this started with is you claimed that leftists support terrorists because of like the Houthis, right? The Ansar Allah, a
Yes.
movement which is based in Yemen.
Yes.
I have a question. Do you consider police in America, the LAPD, let's say, to be terrorists?
So, okay, so I live in Kansas City, Missouri, and if you look us up, we're
Okay.
pretty not good
One of my
on
best friend
murder
lives in
rates.
Kansas City.
So yeah, murder rates and all that. I've lost not thousands. That's a dumb number. I've lost like tens of friends to gun violence, drugs, and all kinds of other stuff. And
Okay.
from what my experience with police is, they've left me alone. But like when it comes to like the drugs and stuff, they're doing the job on that. But I do see some excessive things that I feel like they could do better. But I wouldn't see them as like a terrorist organization. I see it
Okay,
as
but what
like a
about okay, but we agree that like let's specifically I'm just zooming in on one because a lot of data about this, but like the Los Angeles Police Department or the
okay.
San Diego or Sheriff's Department, like they have a documented like they literally like have you ever seen like the high speed chases that they do?
Oh yeah,
And
watch
like
much.
that just endangers civilians. Yeah, there's like no reason for them to do that. They do it because it's sensational and
Yeah,
it draws them attention
it's dumb.
and they're endangering the public and they're doing it for a political motive, which is to like, essentially gas up the police. Like, look how cool they are.
Yeah.
So I think if we use like the definition, like I define terrorism as, the definition says for the political motive, right? I think we
Yes.
could then clarify that what the police are doing in that way might be considered terrorism, right?
Yeah, because I do agree that terrorism usually has some political motive to it. They're not just
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
stuff for no
And
reason half
listen,
the time.
I'm not like trying to be sensational. I'm just trying to like, understand how it works. Okay, another example is this. Do you know about like a lot of people don't know this, especially if you're American, we're never taught this. But do you know what the IRA is? Like they fought against
I
England to liberate Ireland
Yeah, I believe I do
in like
some sort of. But you
in the
might.
last like 50 years. They like are famous for like bombing London and like trying to like kill Margaret Thatcher and like
Oh, I haven't heard
wrote a
too
bunch of
much
songs.
about that, to be honest.
Okay, well they were considered you can look them up. The
I'm
IRA,
about
the
to go there.
Irish Republican Army, they fought against Britain because Britain was occupying Ireland unjustly for like ever, and America didn't join either side. We stayed completely neutral,
Right.
but they were terrorists. Like they were doing terrorism, but no person would ever say they were not justified in their resistance, right?
Okay.
They were doing terrorism, which so that makes me think that when we talk about because I'm circling this back around to like the
Yeah.
Houthis or
Yeah.
anyone really, I'm really cautious to call that like terrorism support
Yeah.
because the term terrorism is in the eye of the beholder. And why would I trust America, who did shock and awe in Afghanistan and quite literally, led to probably a million deaths since the early 2000s
Yeah.
on them deciding who's a terrorist, right? Why would I care what they think? Does that make
Yeah.
sense? I hope I'm
No.
making
No. No.
like a
Yeah.
something that can be reasonable.
Yeah. No. I'm trying to get the basis and understand. But
Yeah, yeah.
no, I agree. I have a lot of veteran friends and stuff, and they have mixed opinions and all that other
So is my
crap too.
family. Yeah,
So
listen,
yeah.
I have a lot of family who's veterans too, but like, they
I
Listen,
just kind
this is
of
where I just disagree with them. You know, like
no, yeah.
can't help it.
I don't agree with a lot of things that went down, during all that conflict in that region. There's a lot of stuff that just didn't need to be there. And to be honest, if you listen to like John McAfee, Sheriff Baghdad, he even said that if Bush or whoever would have gave him another 2 hours after, he said 48 hours or whatever, he cut him off at 40 or something like that, they would have given over Bin
Hmm.
Laden. So like we didn't have to do that, but he was impatient, I
Hmm.
guess, and just in it. So like I agree in that term.
Yeah, I mean, we lied about WMDs. We lied
Hmm.
about all sorts of different
They
things,
said
right?
he was building master weapons of destruction and all this
Yeah, yeah.
other
They said
crap.
because of aluminum tubes that were used for like a bunch of other things that there was. I mean, now we all know this, right? Colin
Yeah,
Powell, Condoleezza Rice. We know in hindsight that they were just lying. So,
yeah.
anyways, so I think. Listen, I'm not blaming you. It's a common thing I see. Is I think then getting mad at people and being like they're terrorist supporters.
So here's why
I
I'm
think you should. Okay, go
saying
ahead.
the whole thing. You mentioned the Houthis
Mhm.
earlier, and then you mentioned
Yeah,
something
yeah.
about the other group being terrorists as well because they took action,
Yep.
right? So
Hmm.
the Houthis, I completely understand why they're taking action. They wanted to shut that port down, stop, some shit from going on is what I believe was going on. So
They
they,
also
took over the
you have to
vessel.
remember they had just survived the genocide.
Yes,
Saudi
yes,
Arabia was like genociding them.
yes. So
Yeah,
that's I completely understand. If I was them, I would want to get with my friends and try to make something happen as well. But
yeah,
the thing that I don't disagree or that I don't agree with is that the
yeah. Hmm.
fact that there was I don't know how many like 10 Filipino people that they kept for like a year or two just
Yeah, yeah.
hostages. That's the one
Hmm.
thing that I'm
I
like,
think that's
okay,
bad too.
that's a little yeah. So we can agree on that.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I'm not somebody who defends each and every bit of the things, but I also understand the IRA killed 810 innocent people, but we
Yeah.
don't condemn the IRA because we understand that ultimately they're still trying to that is a result of a bad situation.
Yeah.
For example, right?
I think
If
it's
I
a
can
fine line whenever it
yeah,
comes
well,
to like,
if I can
fighting for stuff that's right for them and stuff.
I mean, like, listen, any innocent life that lost is bad. But if we're to tackle the root cause, it's because people are in desperate situations, and
Agreed.
I'm calling myself a materialist, right? So I believe that the only way that these people will quit doing this is if their conditions improve, so they don't feel the need. For example, in America, we don't really have like terrorist groups. Like we don't have like an American ISIS, right? Like
Yeah.
we have white supremacy groups and stuff like that, but they're not out there like doing car bombings. They're not out there committing like mass acts of terror all the time. We usually have lone wolf shooters and things like that. And the reason is because relatively our material conditions are pretty good, right? Like in relative to like Sudan, right? Or Yemen.
Yes, in those
So
countries,
we
yes,
don't
I'll agree.
yeah, we don't feel the pressure. Like our lives aren't constantly at stake to the same degree. Actually, America has more than most developed countries terrorist attacks like by our own people. Like
Hmm.
most countries don't have nearly as many as ours. And the reason is because their conditions are better. They have housing, adequate, food, shelter, adequate medical care. Whereas
Yeah.
in a place like Yemen, like their life exists on the wire. And so you know, their proneness, their likelihood of committing something and the chance that it might improve their life and to take desperate measures, I think is somewhat understandable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, and I
And
agree with
so,
that 100% because like I said, if I was, in my own country with very few and I've only got so much to try to live, I'm going to do that. That's understandable.
yeah,
But
so that's why I'm not quick to like get mad at, like, especially like, listen, like I said, I'm not Hassan, but I'm
yeah.
not gonna condemn someone who is on the side of resistance, who isn't critical of the group that like lives off of eating, 1,000 calories to survive and is the literally poorest country on the planet. Like I'm not gonna bend over backwards to condemn the Houthis,
Yeah.
when quite literally they are the poorest country on the planet,
Yeah, they're
right?
just
Like
trying to survive and I completely understand.
well, they're not only are they trying to survive, they're not actually I would disagree. They're not just trying to survive. Just trying to survive is like what dudes in Appalachia do and like just eat shit and vote for Trump over and over and make their conditions worse. Whereas the Houthis have decided that they're gonna, take action and that leads America to drone striking them it leads, the UAE and Saudi Arabia to facilitating a civil war and causing a famine or a genocide. They've chosen to take action, actually,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So, but listen, I can understand. Listen, I used to be incredibly conservative, so I
I
used to
don't
be
even know
in a
which way I lean, to be honest, because I feel like I go one way and then it just turns out to be like I don't agree with that, and then I go the other way and I don't agree with that either. So
Of
like
course, yeah.
I don't.
That's the average American way, man.
Yeah,
Everything's once you learn everything's political, though. It's hard to it's
everything
hard
is.
to stay like that.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, politics are in the bedroom. Like people don't realize it.
Yeah,
Politicians dictate what you can do in your own home. Like politics is everywhere.
yeah.
So
I mean, yeah. It's just yeah. There is just a couple like I know you're not a son, but I'm gonna keep bringing him up because it's
no,
part
it's
of
okay.
the thing.
It's fine. Yeah, I'll defend progressive positions. I don't need to defend Hassan. I think he's done. Listen, Hassan's a friend of mine, but like I'm not him, and I disagree with him on some things. You know.
Yeah, it's just the way that he talks about things, the way he goes about things in a certain manner that like
Okay,
like he
I've heard
could
that
be
before.
meaning good, like I could agree with him up until the point where he's like just loses his shit or whatever in a way where he's like
But
yelling
why
and
does
other
that
stuff like
change what
that.
he's but why
Be-
does that change what he's saying? Even if he's calling someone, a dumb, inbred, a fucking dog, whatever, do you
yeah,
not see that it probably is coming from a position of like he's in the moral right? Like he's morally correct, right?
I'm
If
I
he's
mean
standing you would never get mad at somebody for calling a Nazi that, right? Like if I called a Nazi a fucking dumb, inbred piece of shit who deserves nothing, like you wouldn't get mad. You'd be like, okay, you're spitting, right? Like you'd be
well
like, this
yeah
guy is fucking right. So I don't see the reason to get mad at somebody who is just like convicted in their morals. Like I find that to be like actually we admire that sometimes. America elected Trump because he is brazen and he's against the grain,
yeah yeah he kind of stood out in that way.
So
So
yeah,
I
yeah, I think we can all agree that Trump. Part of the reason he is popular is because he's not, you know, a Democrat who's fucking. I hate the Democrat, but he's not like optically like polite. He's not civil. So
Yeah, he's definitely one of the presidents just came out of the woodworks, just going wild for a little bit, and it was I
yeah,
think it's a
yeah.
little shock factor for a lot of people. And I really don't even I don't know
I'm
at
not
this
saying you have to
point
watch
for.
this on, by the way. That's not my point.
Oh
I'm
no
just
no
saying
no
that
no I
I think it's dumb to. I think this is what I would say. I think it's dumb to argue against things that just benefit your life. Like, for example, do you think if you had free healthcare, your life would be better?
well considering I'm epileptic probably because I spend
Yeah,
shit
yeah.
tons of money in just seizure
Listen,
medicine and stuff alone. So,
so a year ago, I moved to Australia. My partner's from here. I grew up in America my whole life. I never had health insurance. I'm 30 now, so I haven't had health insurance for quite a while.
yeah
Dude, it was the biggest stress relief in my life. Dude, I can just go to the doctor. Like it's wild. Dude, I just have a card and I just walk into
yeah
the doctor and it takes 15 minutes. I sit down, I walk in, they go, "What do you need?" I tell them, they either refer me to a specialist and I get there in a week or less, or I get there the same day and I just gets done. And the pharmacy is in the fucking doctor's office and I walk into the pharmacy counter and just get whatever I need.
yeah that I could definitely see why you would move.
Dude,
That
if especially yeah, dude, if you're epileptic too, like so that's like different than like if I was going in for something maybe that's not like
yeah
incredibly necessary. You would never pay a dime.
Yeah, because ambulance rides are 10K and then just treatment itself is 30. So like yeah, it's but like
Yeah, man.
I guess you'd say Australia is a good country to
I
move
think
to.
healthcare wise, and the
Healthcare
only
wise.
reason I brought this up is because I think like not Hassan, but progressive people in general, right?
Yeah.
Anyone, myself, like I think that's like at the base of what I believe, right? The basis
Yes.
of progressives or leftists is three main things: healthcare, housing, and food for everyone.
Right.
Because
That's fair.
those are the only way you can live a life, right? And I understand that if I have to pay more taxes for it, that's fine. You know why? Because I'm not epileptic, right?
Yeah.
But I could develop something. I could break my leg. Something could go wrong, and you paid for me, and you have epilepsy or whatever. I would have no problem. Like we look out for each other.
Yeah.
So
I
I
don't
think
mind
that's part of a
system.
civilized society.
Yeah, civilized.
Yeah,
Yeah, and there's a lot of ways that things could get better, and I'm hoping that maybe with I don't know, fucking I guess this presidency might see some difference. But then again, it is Trump, so who knows what's gonna happen. But
I mean, right now, dude, things are about to get a lot more
yeah,
expensive, it looks like. Even in
yeah,
Australia, we're talking about that, how it's gonna not gonna affect us because we don't get tariffed, but
yeah.
like
I get the
Australia is
ideas.
talking about it, yeah.
Yeah, I get the ideas of tariffs and all that, and like trying to get the money back in the country. And like
But that
these,
doesn't work.
why do you say that? You don't mind me asking.
Um, yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, I talk about this shit all the time, so I have no problem. Like, I love talking about this shit. Okay,
Wait,
so here's the problem with tariffs. Tariffs are a way to essentially focus on the industry you have in your country. So America has a lot of oil, right? So it would make sense if America tariffed oil coming into America to incentivize oil companies in America to sell to Americans and produce it and use it there because that's what we have a lot of, right?
yes,
But it makes no sense on tariffing things that we just don't have in America because it just increased the cost for things that people want. Avocados is one, chips is one, like processors, things like that, certain plastics that are made in China or whatever. Like there's just things we don't make in America. Or if
yeah,
we wanted to make them, it would take a long time to build those factories because they're incredibly specialized.
yes,
So it doesn't make any sense to tariff them because we've set up the world to be specialized in different regions based on what they do. Actually, going back to a manufacturing economy would be a step in regression as America moved away from that because most of our populace is like we're called what's a service economy. So we are
hmm,
doing like things with math and science and technology. Not that this idea is like incredibly true. It's kind of a dumb economic idea, but that's like what they
yeah,
argue is part of the we moved away from this is because our people are designing the bridges and designing the infrastructure and designing, doing the educated thing,
yeah,
right? The higher education. And so to go back to factories is essentially being like, hey, look, we need a bunch of people who are overqualified to go make fucking Toyota Corollas.
yeah. No, that's not gonna help us in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And another reason for tariffs might be bad is think about this. What happens when we do put all the manufacturing here and we've lowered our taxes? Because now that's what Donald Trump wants to do, right? Have you heard him? He's like, I want to get rid of income tax below
Yeah,
200K,
yeah. Income
which
tax,
I
and
think
then
is not that bad of an idea, right? But not 200K. It should probably be like 100K. I think it's fine to get rid of income tax below a certain amount. I don't really care that much. But he wants to get rid of all of it to make up for it with tariffs. Okay, well, what happens when we do bring all the manufacturing back? So we have nothing to tariff because we're not importing anything. Well, now we just aren't. We're not making any money. Like
yeah,
there's
we're just hoarding
naturally an
stuff.
issue with that. Yeah,
Yeah,
eventually the money, like you just stop. Like
yeah,
it's he's just never. There's a
and
reason that America stopped doing it.
yeah,
So
and I do feel like his tariffs are a little bit just kind of predatory in a way, because like China, he's talked about China forever.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if he dislikes China or openly admits it, but I feel like he does not like China. So he's kind of just been messing with them more in a certain way, especially with Canada, and then all the whole trade or whatever. I guess
Yeah, he's
Trodu.
isn't it okay, like you can imagine this. Imagine you're like a foreign country. Like, why would you ever want to work with America when every 4 years you might get an insane guy who's like threatening to invade you or like cause a trade deal that just sucks,
Well,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it
because they
makes
have
us
these
the
things set
worst
up.
ally.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we've had some of these issues, these agreements for 30 years, and one guy
Yes.
comes in and overnight goes, you know what? I decided I don't want to do that anymore. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And those governments are a little bit different than ours. So I mean, I the only reason why I kind of like Trump being in office is because of the
Okay.
terms with like Russia and like the Ukraine stuff. I personally don't think that Ukraine should have got a lot of money that they did, because like wasn't there
Okay.
issues with like where the money went and all this other stuff.
Sure, sure.
But
So
like,
I have something for you can look up on your own. Okay.
okay,
Listen, my partner's Ukrainian. Her family's from Ukraine.
okay,
Um, they immigrated to Australia a while ago. Her grandma, I talk to her every day. They live in Ukraine. Um, and so it's a little personal to me. I'd spent a lot of time about this. A lot of misconceptions.
yeah,
So they were unjustifiably invaded, right? Another country. Imagine that Canada just invade. I don't know where you live. You live in KC. You said, okay. Imagine Mexico invaded fucking New Mexico to want it back, right?
yeah,
We would be like, what the fuck? Right?
yeah,
Now, but imagine New Mexico is just an ally. It's not America, it's New Mexico, it's just its own thing. I think the moral position would be to support them, right? Because ju- like we're fighting up against an injustice, right? They didn't
Yeah.
deserve, they didn't ask to be invaded, they didn't do anything. But not only that, this is what I would have you look up. If you were to Google the funds for Ukraine, you would find out that almost all of them went to American weapon manufacturers, and that money was spent in America. So you Google like Ukraine aid U.S. weapons manufacturers. It's like the vast majority went to American workers and then just shipped the weapons to Ukraine.
I'm looking that up right now. Ukraine
Yeah, yeah.
weapons or U.S. arms, UK. Yeah, I'm gonna look that up. But yeah, I'll definitely research
So
that
I,
too.
I do agree though that there's corruption in Ukraine. Even Ukrainians think there's corruption. Like, don't get me wrong.
And the
Eastern
Russians
Europe
were
is
saying they were fascist and all that stuff, which I do believe
yeah,
that
but
like
the Russian
Russians
have the
just talk. But
yeah.
I
Well,
just
no,
think
it's not that. It's they needed an excuse. They're trying to take
exactly.
over a certain region.
Yeah, and then,
Yeah,
like what was it, 2008, 2012, something like that. They annexed Crimea for whatever reason. I'm not too up to
yeah.
date on that. 'Cause it's been a while, you know.
So I do agree with this. Listen, this is one thing that is complex about the Ukraine situation is America fucked Ukraine. We could have ended this war instantly,
Oh, I agree.
and this is partially Joe Biden's fault. We could have given them the same shit we give to Israel, like the Iron Dome. We could have given them all sorts of stuff so that,
Better
you know, Russia
training
was
too.
stopped in their tracks. Yeah, we could have done anything to stop this, but we didn't. Why? Because it's good for America to keep the meat grinder going to weaken Russia.
Yes. Yeah.
Russia's our enemy. So
Yeah.
if we can keep the meat grinder going, it's good. But I think
That's
we're too far in. This is my
yeah.
personal take. We're
Yeah.
too far in now, and we don't want Ukrainians just get genocided. Listen, Russians like literally just want to genocide Ukrainians. Like they just that's truth. They just
Oh, no,
want to
no,
kill
yeah.
they want the land.
I
So
I play Escape from Tarkov for one of my main content. I've talked to some Russians, and yeah, they have told me some things, and
yeah, they
so
don't think Ukrainians are human. People don't
they
believe me when I tell them that,
no,
but it's
yeah.
true. They literally don't think Ukrainians are
I
human.
don't know if they call them orcs or if that's what they call Russians or whatever, but
That's what they call Russians.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of things like that. But I it's just the reason why I brought up the Trump and Russia is because like the negotiations and stuff, it seemed like it was helping kind of like get a relationship back together. Like it seems like he kind of cooled them off a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
I think he's just playing him. I
It
think
could
that
be.
Putin has a vested interest in Trump because Trump is a moron. He really is. Trump is arguably the dumbest president we've ever had. And I can lay out like a bunch of reasons. I don't want to bore you, but like tariffs was
Dude,
one.
I got all night.
Also,
So
asylum seekers. Okay, Donald Trump thinks. Okay, do you know what an asylum seeker is?
yeah, somebody leaving a country to seek asylum because there's war, whatever else.
They're scared, right?
Yes,
Do
fear.
you know what Donald Trump thinks asylum seeker means?
What?
He has so much said this. What do you think? What is the most insane thing you could think of?
The Does it have anything to do with like being scared, or is it just something just completely out of the left field? Because I feel like it
What
just should
what
be
do you
left
come
field.
on, brother? You know what he thinks when he says asylum. He thinks
They
they're
wanted.
coming here to go to bro, he thinks asylum seekers are leaving mental asylums.
Oh, okay. Now that makes. Okay, that's ridiculous as shit, and I can see
That's
how you
literally
would.
something he said.
I
He
haven't
thinks
seen him
that
say that, so I had no idea. But like, that's
yes.
insane.
Well, okay. That's not like his exact words, but that was his assumption when he goes, they're emptying their asylums and stuff.
Oh
He said their
no.
jails and their prisons, but that's literally another thing that goes on that he thinks that they are emptying their mental asylums into America. That's part of what he thinks asylum means. He also thought the Arial font on that guy's knuckles said MS-13, but that was just somebody like
Yeah,
labeling what
I
they
didn't
said he said
agree.
too.
I didn't agree to that because I'm familiar with some gang culture and stuff, Kansas City, obviously. But like in the
Yeah.
MS-13, there was some people like that here. But like no, and that was a fucking pot leaf, one of them, and then the other ones just had nothing to do with anything.
But one was the Nirvana thing. What do
Yeah,
you mean,
exactly.
brother?
Yes, it was like a smiley face or something.
member?
Yeah,
Yeah, some MS-13 members getting the Nirvana shit on him. What do you mean?
yeah, he's like, gang member. That makes me terrified because I have hand tattoos and like I like Mitch Lucker, Suicide Silence, heavy band. He passed away, so like
Yeah.
I got a lot of like his inspired tattoos and stuff. So like they're gonna look at me one day and be like, oh, gang member. I'm like, no, dude, this is from like metal. Like I don't want that
Hand
type of
tats,
shit.
bro. You're cooked.
I'm covered, so it's cooked anyway.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. Anyways, So that's just the reason I think, like, listen, Joe Biden is not much better. I'm not a Democrat, right? That's one thing a lot of people have a misconception about, like, progressives like myself,
Yeah.
is we hate liberals probably more than most people, because I find liberals to be, counter, they don't help. They just find a way to make the problem look acceptable,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
The
I agree.
problem with liberals, I mean, conservatives are bad, but at least conservatives are unapologetically usually racist or whatever, and at least it's easy to spot. With
Yeah.
liberals, they just wrap it in a bow and do it differently, right? Or I think like the average liberal sees the problem, they just aren't willing to make any change because it threatens stability, right? They are
Hmm.
more worried that, like, letting, for example, in America, segregation, they are more worried about like ending segregation causing maybe a tougher job market for a little bit
Yeah.
than the fucking human rights abuse of segregation, right? Does
Like,
that make sense?
yeah, like worried about like backlash instead of the actual.
They're worried about the civility, or the stability and civility of whatever. And I, as a progressive or as a leftist, think that that shit's irrelevant, right? I'm somebody who's like, listen, I have my demands. I'm not going to budge. I think that too many people starve. Too many people are homeless. I think too many people forego medical treatment because they can't afford it.
Agree.
I think too many people die from not going to the doctor because they're scared of a bill. And these things are fundamental to be changed. And I'm going to be militantly, active. Not militantly, but I'm going to be
Yeah.
extremely, adamant that we get healthcare, housing, and food as a human right. Like, those are just my
Yeah, and I agree for those
beliefs.
things too because like my problem with a lot of it too is like the VA and like veterans not being able to get
Yep,
just simple assistance and then them hooking them on opiates, suicides and shit, and just
of course,
all of that. So like I agree with you
of course.
100%. Like we need more from our
A lot of
government.
veterans are the reason that I'm anti-U.S. military. One of the most prominent things that radicalized me was, I can't remember his name right now, but he's famous for uh, yelling at Bush about what he did. I can't remember his name right now.
I watched a
Fuck,
lot
I
of
can't remember
Sean
his name.
Ryan stuff, so he might have been
Mike
famous.
Preisner. Thank you.
Mike Preisner. Let me look him up
Yeah,
real quick. He yelled at
yeah,
Bush.
Mike Preisner. Yeah,
American activist. Oh, okay, yeah. See what you're saying here. American
huge,
socialists.
huge reason that I am the way that I am is he is somebody that radicalized me against the United States military and their actions.
So he was just against
So
like the whole Iraq and Afghanistan encounters,
I'm against anything. I'm pretty much all like,
just
America
war
is
in general.
only justifiable. Anything would be a response to Pearl Harbor, and even then, America shouldn't even been in Pearl Harbor. That was a colonial action. But
Yeah, I
uh,
was going to say, how do you feel about like World War II and stuff? Then, if we're gonna,
I think, yeah, I mean, if you want to go back in history, World War II is about the last time you could even argue America had any justifiable reason to be involved in anything.
we're a little
But I
late
do think
to it too,
it
as
is
well.
moral to fight Nazis. I think it is good. In America, we don't learn this, but the commies, the Soviets, are the ones who killed the Nazis and marched into Berlin and
Yes.
rose the flag.
Yep.
You know,
I agree.
so the USSR won the war, and
They did.
we. It's funny that we lump commies and Nazis together, but the number one opposition to fascism is communism.
Yeah.
Every single fascist in history, the first people they kill are communist and socialist,
I'll say
because they stand opposed.
they have a deep hatred for each other, and that was
Well,
very
that's like
very
the point.
apparent.
Because fascism is about concentrating power for a certain group, right? So
Yes.
white, able-bodied people, or whatever it might be, Catholics, it doesn't matter. There's like a certain group, and that's the main group. It's usually something with divinity, but they're like God's chosen people or whatever it might be, and they have some form of specialness. Whereas socialism or whatever is about, it's about class, right? So I work, you work, we have bosses, we have reasons. We don't own, a factory, we don't own the plantation, we don't own whatever.
Right.
It's us versus them. And socialism is about hopefully trying to make it so that we as workers have more say together, right?
So
Like,
like
that's
unions
the
and
whole
stuff
idea.
like that.
Yeah, trade unionist is like a really common way. Yes, the
Isn't
unions is
what
like,
the IRA didn't it start off as like a union? Am I
Um,
wrong on
I,
that?
I think the IRA started as trade unionist, but
Trade union?
I'm not 100% sure, actually. I know the Irish Republican Army was not technically originally like even recognized by, well, Ireland didn't want to start any shit, and then it became like they were incredibly well supported.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
doubt that though. I don't know. Maybe that'd be interesting. I don't know if
The
the
reason
IRA
why I'm
started
saying
trade
that is
unionists.
because I watched the Peaky Blinders and they had the IRA in there, and then there was a lot of like,
Peaky Blinders good. Yeah.
yeah, it's a good show, but I mean, it's just a show, so it could be wrong. But like, yeah, the IRA was a union because the dude's sister was dating the head of the people. But yeah,
So, but yeah, anyway, so a lot of people, I'm happy that you understand that distinction. That's good. But a lot of people don't know that fascism is directly opposed to like socialism and
and
communism. That's why
yeah,
like I think it's when we talk about America, I would say America is it's a liberal state. It's very liberal, but it does a lot of fascist action. For example, like in Korea, right? The Korean War.
okay, we can agree
Uh,
on some things there. Sure.
the Korean War is bad. The North Koreans at the time were wildly popular. There was very little. There was some violence, but pretty relatively low, as North Korea came into South Korea, trying to winning with communism and socialist ideas were incredibly popular. Not much resistance, but America saw that as unfavorable, as they wanted South Korea there and they wanted to maintain a hold to keep an eye on their enemy, the
Yeah,
USSR, and they weren't willing to give up that land. So we just flooded it with troops and weapons and soldiers by literally supporting a guy named Rhee,
yeah,
who was a fascist, like a fascist dictator, like a leader of South Korea at the time, or part of South Korea.
mm-hmm.
And so we just flooded him with weapons and shit and said, by any means necessary, we have to win. And then we didn't win. It just was a stalemate, right
Yeah.
back to where the North Koreans marched in, you
And
know?
yeah, that's where I'll agree with you on like I don't like a lot of the like these proxy wars and a lot of all the weird shit like the Congo
Well, that one
stuff.
wasn't even a proxy war. We just went in.
Oh
Like,
no,
why?
I'm just
Yeah.
bringing that up, but like
No, yeah, I get it. Yeah, Vietnam's another one, right? Like,
yeah,
the only reason America went to Vietnam is because the French promised us we could have part of their colony. So
that's
the French were
insane.
colonizing. You know what? You know banh mi?
Do what? I'm sorry.
Do you know what banh mi is? Like
On
it's like
me.
a I don't know if yeah, it's a really common thing you eat Vietnamese. I bring it up because it's interesting. It's a baguette with like Vietnamese like
Oh, okay.
pork and like food and like spices and stuff in it.
Yeah.
But it's a fusion of French because Vietnam was colonized by the French
Yeah.
for like a long time.
That
And
culture stuck
so
around.
yeah, well, yeah, it stuck around and it's just like a remnant of that occupation. And so what ended up happening is Ho Chi Minh, fucking Uncle Ho,
Yeah.
a socialist leader from northern Vietnam, decided he wanted to liberate, and him and a bunch of people, unionists, trade unionists, decided they were going to liberate Vietnam. And France was like, no, we can't be having any of that. Like, we need to make money off you guys. And then France didn't have the resources to send troops and people there. And so they asked America to, and America's like, no, we don't want to be involved. And France was like, well, we'll give you half of it. And America's like, I'll see you tomorrow. And then we got clapped. So,
Yeah. I
yeah.
There's a lot of unjustified reasons why we step in, and
I
it
don't think there's
is
any like at least
well.
since World War II. I don't think there's a single one, right?
Well, I know it's because like they want to mess with Russia and all that other stuff and keep them
Yeah, of course
away
they
and
want to
try to.
destabilize.
Yes, I understand that, and that's part of why they got into like Iraq or whatever was first. Afghanistan a little bit. Yeah, it's late at night. I'm fucking tired, but
No, you're good, brother.
but yeah, that's why they initially went there because the Russians were there first. It's the USSR, I
Yeah, we went
believe.
to the Afghanistan because the Soviets were there trying to arm and fund a
Yeah.
Marxist government with the Afghani soldiers. So America went in and armed the Mujahideen, who would
Yep.
eventually turn into literally
ICE.
the people to carry out 9/11. So
Yeah, that's ISIS, right?
part of that group. Well, yeah, well, ISIS, Al Qaeda, the Taliban all
Yeah.
spans from different ways that America has funded and
Yeah,
destabilized the Middle East.
and then the way we left that. Oh man.
Yeah,
Jesus.
people don't. When we invaded Iraq, America promised that after we liberated them, that we would, fix their infrastructure. Still to this day, Iraq has less power capacity than it did, like on their electrical grid, than before America invaded. That is how much destruction we did. We did
Yeah.
so much destruction in Iraq. They have less power capacity now than they did pre-invasion in the early 2000s.
And it was already not that great, but like, man, it's yeah, I know, I agree.
Oh,
They go places
wait,
and they just destroy shit, to be honest.
I
But
don't know if you can like listen to podcasts while you're at work or whatever. You should listen to this podcast called Blowback. It is
blowback.
phenomenal. It's so good. It's so good. Yeah.
I'm gonna take notes. And yeah, I work at a dispensary, so I just sit there and listen to stuff all day. So.
Yeah, bro. Blowback is the fucking shit.
Yeah, I'll
And it's
definitely
like
take
all
a listen to this.
sourced, so it's like it's not like some dude just bullshitting. Like everything is sourced. Everything is like, and it's really good. It's like they have like effects and it's really well written. It's like storytelling kind of. It's really really good.
Is it the blowback.show?
Is that their
URL.
link chat? Does anybody know?
Is there?
I actually don't know what their link is. Yeah, I listened to it on Spotify.
Oh, on Spotify. I can just find it on Spotify then.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, give me some
Anyways, it's
tips on getting
phenomenal. The
hired.
first season's all about what we just talked about, Iraq and Afghanistan.
Sorry, I was reading your chat.
No, you're good. Yeah, yeah.
Bro wants tips about the. I'm in the Missouri side or on the Kansas City side, brother. You're gonna drive 2 hours to get to me. But yeah, I'm
Noah
gonna
Coleman
listen.
is the other guy who runs it.
Noah
So.
Colin.
Yeah, he's the guy who ran it. He's pretty dope. But anyways, yeah, you have to listen to that. You don't have to watch Noah or anything, but
Yeah, I
it's
got you.
really good. That's a lot of shit about like that changed how I viewed like a lot of things I didn't know. Like the Vietnam War, like I always knew it was bad, but I didn't or Korea. I always knew it was bad, but I didn't know why exactly.
Yeah.
And then like you listen to that and you hear like America's justification for all this shit, you're like, what the fuck? So
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why, like, growing up as a kid, I would just try to like pay attention because they would talk about this stuff in school, but they would talk about it in a way, you know how American school systems were. They'd want to butter it up. We're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh no, we saved the day, yada yada yada. But I had a history teacher. He's like, you really want to know what happened? I was like, Russia went in there, took care of it. We showed up and took pictures. I was like, okay, thank you. But
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Germany. Yeah. That's exactly. The
yep.
Soviet Union went in there, took care of it, and we rolled in and
They're like,
claimed
oh,
the
thanks
victory.
guys. Oh, appreciate you. Yeah, you can leave now. Like
Yeah.
type vibe. It's yeah.
W teacher. Yeah.
Yeah,
But anyways,
he's the
I
best.
was gonna say if you have any questions about like progressive shit, you can always just like dude, drop by my chat. My chat. They might come across hostile, but they're not trying to be.
Oh
They're
no,
just autistic.
no,
Like they're just trying
I
to tell you. Yeah.
no, it's chat, man, and I get it. I'm here to learn. I kind of just I try to start debates, or not debates, just conversations on Twitter, and you know how people are, and I always don't handle the things the best too.
Dude,
But I would,
don't. There's no conversation on Twitter, bro. They're Nazis. Like
yeah,
that place
it's
sucks.
and it yeah. I just get bombarded with hate threats, but I'd love to have another conversation sometime. I appreciate you taking the time on having this one.
Yeah, man. Sorry I talked your ear off, but like
No,
next
dude,
time
I'm all
you can
for
ask
it.
me whatever.
I'm all for it. I say I'm
All right.
whatever you got on time, but
All right. Listen, have a good rest of your night. Get some sleep. All
you
right.
too. Yeah, thanks for having me,
Have a good
man.
one. Yeah, yeah. Bye bye.
Bye. What a cool dude. Bye. What a fucking cool dude. Holy shit.
Chat,
Chat.
you should follow Mystics. Okay.
Oh
Really
man,
nice dude.
what a cool fucking guy. See, this is the
All right.
thing. This is the thing. I love it when I can
Really
have
nice.
genuine people pop up in here and have good
That was a
conversations.
person who genuinely wanted to learn something.
I just
Like was interested in hearing a perspective that
yes.
wasn't
Chat.
pro-America.
Thank you. Thank you so
You
fucking
know?
much for showing some love. I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, I really just wanted to know things. I wanted
Like
to
normal
educate
person,
myself
number
more.
one.
I wanted to get it.
Like most people we talk to are normal. You guys are just
We turned it down a little bit.
you push that.
No, thank you for all the love.
Blame you.
Seriously, I just wanted to get a better understanding on things because I just grew up during like we've been at war since I was born. So I always wanted to like try to get a better understanding on things. And with all this stuff going on and all that, it's I felt like it was a good time to learn.
Who turned off
You know?
the magnet?
You're a great person, KC Gang. Yes, KC Gang, man. Thank you for the follow. I
Let's get back
appreciate
to
you.
our Mehdi, Hasan, and Hasan.
Man, that was
Boston.
an awesome conversation, and thank you guys so much for all the follows. I'm gonna get to 1K because of you guys probably. So thank you so much for real, because that's next on the list. I hopefully I'm gonna try to reach out. I'm gonna try to get a little bit more information, and I'm gonna reach out to Carter, and maybe we can have a another conversation once like more stuff happens or whatever. We kind of just discuss like this on the more of the humility side of things. I like to just kind of talk, understand like preferences on both sides, and learn some definitions. Like you rarely find people like Carter. That's just what's crazy to me. You rarely find people genuinely open to having conversations, and that is amazing. So W streamer for him. Dude is going on the wall of fame in my mind. That was a awesome conversation, and I couldn't have had any better experience. Thank you guys so much for hanging out too.
Off suicide when I ride, bitch. Scarecrow to walk the shadow. Mozart with no piano. Kill when I'm sleepy hollow. That mystic mother.